if I'm not making me proud and I'm making everybody else around me proud, I am self-abandoning my own fulfillment and my own journey and my own success and my own happiness and my own self-worth and my own self-trust and all of that stuff, self-respect, so other people are okay with what I'm doing. And when you go to bed at night, you're not going to be fulfilled by doing that.
I wouldn't be proud of myself if all I did was just enjoy myself all the time. I tried. Back in the day, I did a lot of enjoying myself. I did too much enjoying myself, and I was unfulfilled. So I think all of us have to figure out this equation for ourselves.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1786, the only person that you need to make proud. As I was titling this episode and thinking about what we were going to talk about, I realized that I don't even know if I believe in the title of this episode and what we're going to talk about. So we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. But
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. We're not going to not do it because I want to see what comes of it. I was on a podcast the other day, and I told the story about how I met my dad for the first time at 27 with the understanding that he was my dad. And I love questions like this, as weird as it may sound. The host said, "Do you think your dad is proud of you?" And I said, I quite frankly don't give a shit whether he's proud of me or not, because I'm proud of me. And I think that's the most important thing. But I was thinking of it after, and I know a lot of people's deepest pains come from their parents. Why are you holding back a smile over there?
You always know. Kevin and I were talking about the James Bond movies right before this.
Yeah, you're thinking about
it? A total side tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made me think of a scene where when you responded to that podcast host of, I don't frankly give a damn.
Yes.
It made me think of a scene in Casino Royale where he asked for a drink, vodka martini.
Shaken, not stirred, of course.
Of course. And the bartender said, "Do you want that shaken or stirred?" And he looked at him pissed. He was in a terrible mood because he just lost a huge poker hand. And he said, "Does it look like I give a damn?" I can't do it because I'm laughing, but you reminded me a lot of that. So,
well, there's worse people to remind someone of than James Bond, played by the handsome and talented Daniel Craig.
He crushed.
I accept that compliment, and I know that's why you said it to me.
Does it look like I give a damn?
Meant. I know that's what you meant. You deep down, Alan, was like, I want Kevin to know that he could be James Bond in a future reprisal of the role. So this was my.
Imagine you running away from like a giant bomb in the background,
all bow-legged and just ass swinging. No, it's not in the cards for me. 5'4" James Bond. You know.
Yeah.
How tall is Daniel Craig?
Probably 5'10".
5'10" in real life? How tall is James Bond? Maybe 6'2" at least, right?
You know, I think Henry Cavill is going to be the next one.
How do you compete with that?
I know.
Superman and James Bond? You know? Yeah. I do feel sometimes as if my life has been for nothing when something like that aligns in that way. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I don't know if I agree with this now, because this is what I wanted to say for this episode. I wanted to say that the only person that you need to make proud is you. But I want to make Taryn proud, and I want to make Alan proud, and I want to make the team proud. So maybe there's a layer of the people that maybe you aspire to make proud are also the people that make you proud. You're proud of them. And I know this is one of the deep pains that people have. They want to go in a different route, and somebody that is close to them does not understand what that route is. Again, podcaster or whatever. I've been talking a lot about The Bear. That's a show that Tara and I are watching. I know a lot of people have seen it, and I know they're on season 3 or 4 or whatever, but we're on season 2. And there's a scene where one of the characters is talking to her father about how she's a chef at this restaurant. And by all outside standards, she's not at all successful. She's not getting paid yet. There's a lot of things that makes it look like she's losing. And you can tell very clearly that she just wants to make her dad proud. And she's not getting that. And she may never get that.
The unwinnable game is what we call that.
Yeah, it seems fairly unwinnable, unfortunately. My thought on this whole thing is I think you're the most important person to make proud. Do you want to make other people proud? Sure. But if that's why you're doing what you're doing, I think that's probably a losing game. That's my thesis for this episode. So it's different than I expected. I was going to get on here and say it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you make anybody else proud, but I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that based on the fact that as I was coming back, I was thinking, well, if Taryn's not proud of me, that sucks. Obviously, that's some sort of compass for what I'm doing.
Well, there's deeper layers of that. It's if Taryn's not proud of you, then that means blank.
Mm.
And then that means blank. And this is something we do in coaching often, which is if XYZ, then blank. If YWX, then blank. And you eventually get to the deeper layers of what's really driving you. And I think one of the things that's really hard about this unwinnable game thing, because that's really probably where I'm going to go with it. Kevin and I were talking earlier, we're talking about how most of what I talk about ends up being about achievement in some way. And most of what he talks about ends up being awareness. And so obviously you need awareness to achieve, and you need achievement to be more aware. Because toward achievements, you're supposed to learn and grow. So anyways, I remember I gave a speech at Clark University way back. This is before Kevin and I teamed up. And the topic was how to translate your college experience into the real world. And I think there was like 25 or so students. It was kind of this back room dorm area. I had a little, what's the thing where you flip the paper over with the marker? One of those.
Easel.
Easel. Yeah, an easel. And I remember I stayed late for questions, always do. And these two young men from India came over to me, and they were brothers. And they both came to Clark University from India, and they said, we are engineers, but we want to play soccer. And back then, I think I was a little bit naive to the statistical chances of them being professional soccer players. So I'm going to say this and reiterate this from my new sense of awareness. But back then, what I said is, they said, if we don't pursue engineering, our parents will disown us and not pay for tuition. And they were crying. This was a real, serious life conversation. And I said, well, which one are you going to regret more? Will you regret, like, let's go into the future, 10 years. Are you going to regret not trying to play soccer, or are you going to regret losing tuition? And they said that we would regret not trying. I said, okay, well, there's your answer. I said, but you have to take responsibility for that choice and what comes with it. Because if they're paying for school, I mean, obviously that goes. And they might be bluffing. I mean, maybe they'll still pay. I don't know. And I also had to ask them, do you guys think you have a chance? I said, I don't play soccer. I can't tell. I got nothing for you there. But do you guys think you have a chance to make it, quote unquote, in soccer? And they both said, yeah. Again, could they be delusional? Yes. I don't know. Right? My point of this whole thing is that they were playing an unwinnable game, which is, in order to make my family proud, I have to be X, but yet I'm called to Y. And you were never really in that position very much. From what we've talked about over the last 7 years, you said to me a while back, you said everyone expected a lot from you. You were very, quote unquote, promising, so everyone expected a lot from you, achievement-wise. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this because it's also like, well, poor you, right? A lot's expected of you. That must be so hard to be so smart or so great or whatever. It's very hard to give empathy to something that most people want. It's like when people say, well, you don't understand. I grew up in a wealthy family and you don't understand what comes with that. It's very hard to empathize with that. I get it because it's much better than no money, which I remember having when my stepdad left. So, but anyways, when you do believe in yourself a lot, when you are very quote unquote promising, a lot of times you fall for this doctor, lawyer, engineer failure thing that your parents kind of put on you. And I think that your family didn't really put much of that on you. I think unconsciously, I was expected to go and be successful because when my stepdad left, there was no safety net for my family. So it was, okay, go succeed and make sure the family has a future type of thing. And I think it was unconscious. I don't know if it was explicitly said. It was just, okay, I better do this because we're screwed if I don't. And so for everyone out there watching or listening, when I got in that car accident at 26, that's when I reevaluated and realized that the number one regret of the dying, we interviewed a woman named Bronnie Ware. She wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and I have a flashcard that's all like tattered up. I haven't shown you this in a while.
It's been a minute.
It's actually all kind of destroyed and ripped in two. But Kevin and I got to interview her like 4 years later, which was really cool. I fanboyed hard on that one. But the number one regret of the dying is I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. And so I think a lot of people do end up going down life paths that are not congruent with who they really are or maybe what they really want based on, well, my family, my father was a pilot. So I have a relationship talks coaching client that her father was a pilot. And I think his father was a pilot. And so it's kind of like this family tradition expectation that's unconscious as a kid. And then you wake up quarter life crisis or midlife crisis or whatever. And it's, wait a minute, what if my life wasn't, what if that's not really what I wanted? And that's how I felt at 26. And I flipped that script pretty hard, which is good. And I had to accept the consequences of that as well, which is losing friends, family challenges, and being broke for a time as well.
I wonder what the difference between somebody not being proud of you and not understanding you is. Because just because somebody is not proud of what you're doing does not mean what you're doing is not great. It doesn't mean that what you're doing is destructive. It could still be very, very positive. Maybe they just don't understand and support it. Like I feel like there can be a difference between somebody saying, I'm not going to support what you're doing, but it's still being very positive and very good for the world. The reason I wanted to do this episode, and I don't feel like I'm the one to give advice on this, because again, my upbringing and the opportunities that I got to pursue are drastically different than I think a lot of people, just because my family wasn't directing me anywhere. Is there a negative to that? Yes, there was very little direction. Is there a positive? Yes, there was also very little boundaries. So I could kind of just do what I want and kind of test out stuff, and I did. I had the opportunity to do that. But I have a very logical view that I understand that many people might not have, where it's my job to make me proud. If I'm not making me proud and I'm making everybody else around me proud, I am self-abandoning my own fulfillment and my own journey and my own success and my own happiness and my own self-worth and my own self-trust and all of that stuff, self-respect, so other people are okay with what I'm doing. And when you go to bed at night, you're not going to be fulfilled by doing that.
No way. I think it's impossible to self-abandon and be fulfilled.
But I also understand that if somebody was saying to me, Kev, I'm paying $25,000 or whatever, however much college is, $25,000 a year for you to go do this. If you decide you're not going to do it, then I'm taking that option away. In my mind, I immediately think I don't want that option anyway, so take it away. I don't care. But I also understand I am fairly reckless when it comes to that type of stuff. But I've always wanted to make me proud. I've never done it. I've never really made myself proud. Now I'm proud. I don't want somebody to be able to take that away from me. You know what I mean?
When I had more other people, when I had more people proud of me than I had ever had before is when I got in my car accident. There was a lot of people proud of me and proud of what I had achieved and all that.
Yeah.
And I did achieve a lot of success. But when I faced mortality, potential mortality, I realized I wasn't proud of myself. And that's when I completely shifted. And I went the polar opposite. I mean, I got made fun of. I remember my mom at one point saying, "Why would you ever give that up? That's what everyone wants. This is the dream. This is what everyone wants. This is what you worked so hard for. It's not giving something up when I don't want it. It's, as a matter of fact, I can't continue doing it. There's no way. I'm going to go do something better." But I also understand now, it's easy to just say that. I knew this would work eventually. And I'm not sure a lot of people have that certainty, so they stay stuck a lot longer than I did. But after you face mortality, you kind of get freed from... It breaks you free of something. It's, well, I don't really have anything to lose since I just almost lost everything.
I think it gives you the ultimate perspective of...
Yeah.
It's very... This is the hyper-conscious Kev. It's very easy to forget that one day you're going to die. It's very easy to forget that. It's very, very easy to forget that eventually you will get to the place where you run out of time. And the clock hits 0, and then that's it. You don't have any option to do anything. Doesn't matter what you want anymore. But it's very easy to lose sight of that because it seems so far away. That's why when somebody dies in your family or somebody dies that's close to you or a coworker or whatever it is, you get so much perspective all at once. And then you get very inspired for however long, but very rarely does that stick. Just like when you sprain your ankle, you say, I'm never gonna take that for granted again. And then a month later, you're skipping down the street, not thinking about the fact that 6 months ago or however long it was, your ankle was jeffed. And we lose sight of that. I wonder if one of the reasons we're not able to be, I won't say we're not able to, it's challenging to be proactively grateful all the time, is because if you did that, you would spend so much time in gratitude and then you wouldn't accomplish anything more.
Of course.
Because
that's exactly what it is.
There's so much to be grateful for.
That's why we talk about grateful dissatisfaction. Because if you're completely grateful and you have no dissatisfaction, there's no incentive to improve.
Grateful ambition, son.
Fair. I like grateful aspiration.
I don't like aspiration.
Is a higher vibe word.
Why not? But it's because that's breathing. Aspiration is also breathing.
No, that's...
Go ahead. You gonna say perspiration? That's when you sweat, son.
It's... Wait. What's the word for breathing?
Aspiration, yeah.
No.
I think so.
To aspire?
No, I don't know if you can use it that way, but aspiration, I think, is breathing. I think.
I've been using it wrong then. Core values, core beliefs, core aspirations?
No, I think breathing? Aspiration, I think it's just one of those words that has multiple definitions.
Yeah.
I wasn't great in English class either, so I don't know. Also, what maybe, potentially, maybe not. If you went to my school, you'll know whether or not this is true, but maybe my English teacher partied with students and was strange. I don't know. Maybe. Possibly.
That's possible. That's maybe possibly true.
Yep.
Back to the original point. One of the reasons why I think people lose perspective and gratitude is because if you were always grateful, you really would lose your drive. Drive is created from wanting things to be better. Yeah. But if you're only ever focused on things being amazing, honestly, a lot of people disagree with this. There's a lot of books out there that I disagree with. They say be fully present. And this is very hard for me because I want to articulate it in a way, and I think that a lot of people really do aspire to this or preach this or believe in this. This whole being present thing. Okay, you and I right now are very present. But what people don't understand when they're saying just be present, just be present, just be in the moment, just be present, is that what we're doing right now in the present is building toward a brighter future. If you're on the couch eating Cheetos, drinking alcohol, fully present, your future's getting worse, not better. You and I are fully present right now. We're in flow to an extent. That's good. Being present right now is good because what we're doing is a building block toward a bigger, better, brighter future for ourselves and others. If we're doing something destructive, the last thing you want to do is just be present. What you need to do is go design a potential future and then reverse engineer that and then try to build toward that. I mean, you told me earlier you're the most fulfilled you've ever been holistically, and that's awesome. But how much did you have to be not present for that?
A lot of time. Many times.
Right.
Most of the time.
You reflected on the past constantly.
Always.
You designed the future and redesigned the future how many times in the last 7 years?
Every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And if you take the advice, just be present.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there. Well, you know, it's hard. There is definitely a subset of human beings that have worked way harder than they want to and either got the results that they thought they wanted and didn't want them, or didn't get the results that they wanted, and they are looking for more presence because they feel like they've wasted many years of their lives. So I think for some people, yeah, be more present.
Exactly.
But if you're ambitious to create some difference in your future, I think there's a place for it. But just like you can't always live in the future.
You cannot.
You can't always live anywhere. There has to be a flow of
it's a three-part
past,
equation.
present, future. Right.
Past, present,
right.
future. Exactly. Yeah. So I always say, here's a recipe for misery. Dwell on all your regrets from the past. Never enjoy the present, and never design a brighter future. You will be miserable pretty much forever. Here's the formula for fulfillment. And it will include some misery, by the way. Learn from the past. Build in the present toward a bigger, better, brighter future. That's what I'm always trying to do. That's why people come to me for coaching. They want a bigger, better, brighter future. I was on with a client earlier today, and everything we talked about was about how to make his next year better than this year. He's been in business since 2017. How can we do more? How can we grow more? How can we achieve more? How can we make more money? That's what the whole conversation is about. And so if anyone's out there listening or watching this, you have most of your focus in the past, the present, or the future. I'm very future oriented. I'm a very achievement oriented. So for me, ironically, paradoxically, it would probably be better for me to be more present. Emilia and I need to focus on being more present. That we had to really work hard yesterday. We went to Newport. We had to work really hard not to work. That's because we're so focused on building all the time. Build. If you're not focused on building as much as we are, maybe building would actually help you. And it all comes down to the original point of this, which is, are you proud of you? I wouldn't be proud of myself if all I did was just enjoy myself all the time. I tried. Back in the day, I did a lot of enjoying myself. I did too much enjoying myself, and I was unfulfilled. So I think all of us have to figure out this equation for ourselves.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for sure. Because at the end of the day, you go to bed and you put your head on the pillow and nobody else knows what you're thinking. Nobody else, I don't want to say nobody else cares, because people do, but they can't care as much about your future as you do. You have to care. If there's anybody on the planet that has to care about your future, it has to be you. 100%. And it has to be more you than anybody else. Because you're the one who has to. Yeah, and you're the one who has to do it. You're the one who has to get up and hit the alarm clock and then go do whatever.
What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Probably my character, I would say. I just want to be a good man. I want to be a good man. You and I were raised by women, which I'm very, very grateful for, but I've been aspiring to find a positive male role model since I was a kid. And I never really found one. And then every time I thought I did, when I grew, and this isn't anything against them, They don't have to live up to my standards. That's not what they're here for. But every time I grew and I reflected, I would realize that they weren't much of a role model at all.
Same.
Some of the behaviors were just less toxic than the other ones that I had seen. So it was just on a scale of 6, 7 beers a night. Not bad. Decent. Still,
not as bad as 12.
Yeah, not as bad as 12 or hard drugs or whatever. Yeah, not bad. Still a functioning member of society. And then you look back and realize, oh, okay, they were going through their own stuff and trying to figure out their own stuff, or maybe not trying to figure out their stuff, whatever. So yeah, I would say that. I just want to be a good man. At the end of the day, the compliments, and I think this is a really good tell, the compliments of you're a really good podcaster and you're a great speaker and that appreciate it, grateful, thank you. I genuinely appreciate it. Got a lot of work to do, but I appreciate it. The ones that you're a really good man, 10 out of 10. And I still have a lot of work to do, of course, forever. But I think one of the fears I had at the beginning of this is that I would lose me in the journey. I'd lose Kevin. I'd lose the heart-driven Kevin. I'd lose the caring Kevin, the emotional Kevin. I think that was a fear for me. And the fact that he's still here, and if anything, he's more here than he's ever been, I would say that is what I'm most proud of. What are you most proud of?
Lost him for minutes and moments.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. But he always came back, and when he came back, he had a lesson of what not to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any way around that.
That's why we work. We have the same thing we're most proud of. Yeah. There's a lot I'm not proud of in my past when I wasn't a good man, or I wasn't as good of a man as I would have liked to be. But my standards have raised, and I've never not been disappointed when I've looked up to other men. Which, what does that mean? That means that our standard internally is greater than what they are shooting for. And that's their prerogative. That's their choice. I mean, it's not, like you said, it's not their responsibility to make us proud.
Right.
But if we can become the men that we are proud of, sincerely, not, I'm so proud of me, because, like, not ego. I mean actually proud. And so, Emilia said one time, what are you most proud of this year? Like, are you proud of the revenue? And I said, it's the way we made the revenue that I'm most proud of. Because we helped a lot of people to make that revenue. And that revenue is only a small fraction of the help that we've given to people. Because most of what we do is free.
Yep.
And it's been that way from the beginning, even as we've gotten deeper into business. But at the end of the day, it is become the male role model that I never had. And that's why we work. I think at our core, that's what we're both trying to do, just from different lenses.
Well, to your point, my standard for me is higher than anybody else's standard for me. I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but one of the best ways, and again, I make mistakes all the time. I have impatient moments with Taryn. I'm sure I have impatient moments with Alan. I am far from perfect. I have so much work to do. But my standards for myself, I think it allows me to be okay with taking ownership for feedback. Because the truth is, Tara and I have had conversations, and I just say, yeah, you're right, I have to get better. That's the answer.
Yeah,
the
so
answer
many
is
times.
I have to get better. That's
Every
all.
time. Almost every time, yeah.
Yeah, but that's because you're not necessarily telling me something I don't know. You're probably highlighting something that hasn't gotten to the point where I didn't know, or I just didn't realize it was so far below my standard.
You're highlighting an area where I've been riding the lightning.
that's a part of it. But
Also
going back to what we talked about originally, for me that's the best thing to have pride in. I love the podcast, sure. And I love we have 1,800 episodes. Awesome, that's cool. I love that. There's a little piece of me that gets a lot of significance from that. When I go on other podcasts and they say you have 1,800 episodes, there's a piece of me that, but not like it was in the beginning. It's different. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of what we created, for sure. But I'm more proud of who we've become in the process. And I don't know if that'll ever change.
What if fulfillment really is finding a way to be both successful and stay who you really are? Because I was thinking about it. Being a good person and having that be your focus is a challenge in itself. And I'm not going to lessen that. But doing that and being really successful is like very difficult. I just had a filler word, like. Damn. I was trying not to touch the microphone and not use any filler words. I probably used a couple.
I haven't recognized.
You haven't. So, because I said this on a podcast recently. I know we got to jump. I said being successful, I actually think is pretty easy, and being fulfilled, I think, is pretty easy. I think doing them together is nearly impossible. It's so difficult. Being just healthy, I think, is much easier than being healthy, wealthy, and in love.
For sure.
It's significantly easier. It's exponentially harder, because being good men, if that was all we were trying to do and we didn't care about being successful, that would be a lot easier. We tried, and we went broke. It was easier. It really was. It was easier when that was what we were doing. And then we went broke, and we had to find a way to be good men and be successful. And I think that that's hopefully what everyone's after. And I think that that's how you can be proud of you is, can you provide? Can you take personal responsibility? Can you achieve and be a great person unique to who you are, not what people are imposing on you?
Last thing before we go, and I know this probably won't land, but I feel like it's important for me to say it just because I don't know, maybe there's one person out there that it'll land for. I said this to a client one time. They said, hey, my family hates what I'm doing. They don't believe in me. They're very negative. They are in opposition of all the things that I'm trying to accomplish. And I said something very similar. I said, this might not land at all. This is hyper logical. There's almost no emotion in what I'm about to say. But maybe it'll break something free. I don't know. I said, I think it's important for you to understand that most likely, statistically speaking, the people that are in direct opposition of you becoming the most proud version of yourself are probably going to leave this earth long before you do. And when they do, you'll be freed up to do whatever it is you want. And it might be too late. You might have a family, and you might have a household, and you might have responsibilities, and your circumstances will be different than they are today. I'm not willing to take that risk, and I've never been willing to take that risk. That is the potential truth that I offer to you. Eventually, your parents will die, and most likely will be before you. And then you'll be sad and heartbroken, and it's going to be traumatic, and it's going to be terrible. But one day after that, you'll wake up and say, wow, now I get to chase my dreams. Are you okay with that, yes or no? Because if not, there is something you can do about it today. And that I just offer that as a little bit of a perspective. Again, hyper-logical, no emotion in there at all. I understand that's a weird way to think of things. But that is the truth. That is my truth.
No, it's the truth.
That's my expectation.
Statistically speaking, that is the truth.
Right. So I'm throwing that out there. I know it's weird as shit. I understand that. But I don't know. How many people... Nobody will ever really know this, but what are the statistics on how many people get to the end of their life regretting their lives because they didn't make a decision because their parents didn't approve of it?
Ooh, it's got to be high.
Got to be high.
Real high. Yep.
Got to be high. I just don't want that for anybody in the NLU community.
Yeah, that's why you and I, quarter life crisis, we changed everything.
We did change everything.
Yeah, we changed everything. So, my truth to mirror that, again, last thing, which one will you regret less?
Yes.
Which one will you regret less? Just like those two young men with soccer versus being an engineer. And I said, I'm an engineer, and I've benefited from that. Engineers do make good money. Like, you're on a good path. But maybe it's not a great one for you. So, which one will you regret more? And that's where courage comes in, because now that you know which one you'll regret more, you have to have the courage to say, listen, I'm doing this. This is my life. This is my responsibility. And then you have to take ownership for everything that comes after that. Good, bad, and ugly.
Can I add one thing? I don't want to be a one-upper.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a one-upper. And I said it was the last thing, then you said it was going to be the last thing, and I come back in saying, real quick, this is actually going to be the last thing. Maybe you'll say it's going to be the last thing after. I don't know.
You know, I don't care.
I know.
Yeah.
This came to me earlier, and then I forgot it, and then it came back. Would you regret not doing something you don't want to do and succeeding, or doing something you really, really, really do want to do and failing. That's a conversation I think that is worth having internally at least. Would you rather go do something you absolutely hate and then succeed at it and be financially successful and societally successful, or would you rather say, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot and I'm going to go try to play soccer professionally, and then maybe 6 years down the line you realize that ain't it, and I wasn't good enough to play soccer, but at least I don't question whether or not I could.
We should do our next monthly meetup on this.
What is this?
This idea of success, regret, being proud of yourself, fulfillment, something along those lines. Again, you'll title it, but it's almost like reverse engineering regret, or how to take a more fulfilling path, or the courage to take a more fulfilling path, or something. You name it, but I do think this would be a
really sexy title. Would be how to design a regret-proof life. I would never do that because I can't. You're going to have regrets for sure. But it's sexy. If I was going to write a book, that would be it right there. How to create a regret-proof life. Woohoo!
You said design the first time.
I lied, and then I changed it to create. It's my book. Let me do it the way I want.
I'm kidding.
Very well played. Very well played. Next Level Nation. As you know, it's our goal to get a little bit better every single day. 1%, less than 1%, whatever it is. Just a little bit better. If you are focused on getting a little bit better every day, make sure you are subscribed on whatever podcast platform you are listening to us on, or on YouTube if you're watching us, so you never miss an opportunity to get to the next level.
I'm extremely grateful. I just got my 26th client on my roster for business coaching. If you are not a business owner yet, but intend to be one at some point, or maybe not even, just consider it success coaching. I was on earlier with a client and I said, before we get off this call, my goal is to help you improve yourself by 1%, help you improve your system of success by 1%, and then help you improve the execution of that system of success by 1%. It's not going to be a quick fix. That's not what I do. But what I do is help you get on the rails and stay on the rails and improve the train tracks. And you do gain momentum. This is a fairly new client. He can already feel the momentum. So if you want to book a free session, you want to learn about what my program is about, my link will be in the show notes.
I genuinely had this moment where you were just saying that. I've never, and this is not me gassing Alan up, I have never seen Alan work with somebody who didn't get some level of results, ever, in the last 7 years, which for me was weird to think about. When Alan does that plug, when he talks about his coaching, there is zero part of me ever that thinks, I really hope Alan can help that person get results.
Nice.
0%. So
that's really good. That's really good. I appreciate it.
That's a shining endorsement. And this is coming from the kid who's worked with him for 7 years. Long time.
I really appreciate that. And real quick, 26 individuals, I don't say that, and I think people are afraid, well, is he going to have time for me? I do. I have time. I have availability. We do monthly, we do bi-weekly, we do weekly. It doesn't have to be crazy. And I promise you it's more affordable than you think. So I appreciate it, Kev. And it's my favorite work in the world. That I can promise you. I love helping people succeed. I live for that.
When will the money that I was promised for doing the shining endorsement land? Is that something you'll send over today, or is that something I'm going to have to wait for?
I just sent $0.
Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah.
As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it regret-free. Next Level Nation.